Welcome back to this daily Bible study. We're doing the book of Ezekiel, and today we're going to be covering chapter 1, verses 5 through 17. Okay, here we go. When the President of the United States travels overseas to visit a foreign leader, he hops aboard Air Force One, which takes off and then is escorted by fighter jets to its destination. You and I have no problem whatsoever understanding what was just described because we have actually seen 5 tons of shiny metal fly so many times that it is not at all unusual to us. It's normal everyday life. But imagine someone 2,500 years ago who actually saw something like a jumbo jet, a jumbo 747, and 4 F-17 fighter jets land right before his eyes. Well, Ezekiel did see something like that, only the vehicles that he saw were circular and more high-tech than our crude propulsion aircraft of the 21st century. Ezekiel actually saw Universe One carrying the King of Kings on board, escorted by the 4 Zun, the guardian cherubim, piloting their highly polished bronze vehicles, as Ezekiel called them. Later in chapter 10 of this book, we will call them flying wheels. Got it? Let's pick up the action as Ezekiel sees this vision of a lifetime and tries his best to describe it to you and me. Ezekiel 1:5. Also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance as they had the likeness of a man. Keep in mind that Ezekiel sees both these shiny spacecraft vehicles with the 4 emblems of the 4 faces, that is, the standards of Israel, painted or perhaps carved on them as aircraft might have, like the presidential seal is on Air Force One, and the Zun that are inside the vehicles as verses 20 through 21 document. Verse 6, and everyone had 4 faces, and everyone had 4 wings. Since these vehicles are circular, like saucers, these 4 faces would be emblazoned on them exactly as the standards of the encampment of Israel in their north, south, east, and west positions, with, as verse 10 will show, the lion on the right side. And their feet were straight feet, like the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. If you lived 2,500 years ago and had never seen a flying machine of any kind, how would you describe tripod-style landing gear? Think of the eagle that landed on the moon and its landing pods, like the sole of a calf's foot. At the end of the unjointed gear, straight feet. The landing gear on these vehicles didn't have wheels because they did not need to roll down a runway to lift off, for they used technology for propulsion that man hasn't discovered yet. This incredible sight must have blown Ezekiel's mind. Ezekiel 1, verse 8. And they had the hands of a man under their wings on their 4 sides, and they 4 had their faces and their wings. Ezekiel is still describing the vehicle's structure and decals or emblems. 9. Their wings were joined one to another. They turned not when they went. They went every one straight forward. This was amazing to Ezekiel. These vehicles not only flew in perfect formation like the blue angels, with their wings tips together, but they always faced forward no matter which direction they went. A helicopter can pretty much do that, but there is nothing in the universe as fast and mobile as these highly polished bronze vehicles that Ezekiel saw. The next verse gives the same exact description of the four faces as we read about in Revelation chapter 4 concerning the Zun. The four cherubim, guards at the throne of Yahweh. They are the same faces as the north, south, east, west standards, emblems or banners of Yahweh's nation of Israel in Numbers chapter 2. There's nothing strange about this at all. Ezekiel 1:10. As for the likeness of their faces, they four had the face of a man and the face of a lion on the right side. They four had the face of an ox on the left side. They four also had the face of an eagle. Here's Revelation 4:7, just as a reminder and a comparison to show how perfect and consistent the word of Yahweh is from the law. Numbers 2. To the prophets, Ezekiel 1. To the Revelation, Revelation 4. Our Father is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Revelation 4:7. And the beast was like a lion, the second beast was like a calf, and the third beast had the face of a man, and the fourth beast was like a flying eagle. These four living beings are always round about the throne of Yahweh in heaven, and when he left heaven to visit Ezekiel, they naturally came along and stayed round about the throne, which Ezekiel 1:26 shows was on board the mothership in the midst of these four vehicles. Revelation 4:6. And before the throne there was a sea of glass like unto crystal, and in the midst of the throne and round about the throne were four beasts full of eyes before and behind. Ezekiel continues, Ezekiel 1:11. Thus were the faces, and their wings were stretched upward. 2 wings of every one were joined one to another, and 2 covered their bodies. 12. And they went every one straight forward, whither the Spirit was to go. They went, and they turned not when they went. This really doesn't take much of an imagination for 21st century mankind, especially for the generation that grew up with Star Trek and USS Enterprise. How would a person 2,500 years ago describe energy cells, beacons, flashing laser beams, etc.? How about just something as simple as colored lights on top of a police cruiser? Verse 13. As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, and like the appearance of lamps. It went up and down among the living creatures, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning. Remember, the pilots of these flying wheels are the 4 Zun, and wherever they go, there is an intense brightness. Ezekiel verse 14. And the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. That about describes how fast UFOs go, according to those who claim to have seen them. Ezekiel says they are as fast as a flash of lightning. When the Zun goes zoom, they're gone. Verse 15. Now as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one wheel upon the earth by the living creatures with his 4 faces. As I started all this, I saw 4 wheels on the ground beneath them, 1 wheel belonging to each. That from the Living Bible. Ezekiel calls these circular flying discs wheels. I mean, what other terminology could he use? I suppose he could have called them flying pancakes, but the words flying saucer would not be coined until the generation that was able to understand what he saw was born. You see, these wheels were not rolling vertically like those on a chariot. They were horizontal, which we will see in verse 17. Verse 16, the appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the color of a beryl, and they 4 had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was, as it were, a wheel in the middle of a wheel. The 4 wheels all had the same appearance, like sparkling chrysolite, and interspaced with the wheel in the middle, where the throne of God is, and he who sits on it, both of which we will read about in our next study. Ezekiel 1, verse 17. When they went upon their 4 sides, and they turned not when they went. These wheels did not go like the wheels Ezekiel was used to seeing roll alongside his cart. They were horizontal on their sides, and when they flew, they didn't even turn or spin. They just went. Imagine Ezekiel seeing all this. Are you able to understand what he saw? There's more to come in the next study. Okay, that's it for this particular study. I've listed here some other platforms where you can find me on YouTube, Telegram, Rumble, and Odyssey. All right, we'll see you next time. Yahweh bless.